Doing now,
okay.
That's what you want to
do. Okay, good.
All right, welcome everybody. I'm excited for today's guest, Lawrence Ingrassia. He is the best-selling author of $1 Billion Brand Club. He's also former Wall Street Journal bureau chief, which tells, and so the book, $1 Billion Brand Club, tells the fascinating overnight success stories of today's direct-to-consumer brands and subscription clubs. Companies like Warby Parker, Quip, Dollar Shave Club have changed the consumer landscape, and long-established brands like Gillette are struggling to catch up. Larry, welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you? Glad to be here.
I'm excited. I think this is going to be a lot of fun because these brands seem to have merged overnight. They went from no presence to domination within a very, very short time.
You know, kind of, if a lot of people are like me, they began seeing all sorts of brands they'd never heard of being advertised for, you know, a huge variety of products, you know, razor blades, mattresses, you know, bras, eyeglasses. And, you know, when I started seeing these as somebody who covered business for a long time, I thought, where are they coming from? Why now? What's happening here? And, you know, I realized that they actually had a lot of things in common, these products. You know, for a long time, you know, a lot of people found them expensive or a hassle to buy.
Yes.
And these companies, Dollar Shave Club, Casper and Tuft & Needle and mattresses, Third Love bras, Hubble contact lenses, Warby Parker, they all figured out that, you know, there's something that is a problem in the market and we can fix it. And those are often the very best business ideas where somebody is saying, hey, how can I fill a need? And another really interesting thing is, you know, they're all in their 20s or 30s. A lot of the founders knew very little about these industries, about these products they were making initially. They just knew that there were a lot of people probably out there like them who felt the same way, who were like frustrated over something. I mean, you know, kind of people were wondering, why does it cost as much as $700 to buy a pair of prescription glasses? Or, you know, for a razor blade, you know, kind of, they're awfully expensive. And I go into a store, they're often locked behind, you know, kind of a glass case. And I ask for the clerk to get them out for me, you know, and who haven't gone to a mattress store and feel that their head is exploding? You know, you've got a salesman following you around, trying to get you to upsell you to the most expensive thing, you know, lie down on it for 30 seconds and you're going to know what it feels like when you get it home. You know, kind of for bras, I mean, you know, what woman wouldn't tell you that, you know, kind of it's not the greatest experience. It's very hard to find something that fit.
Right.
That also was comfortable. These were problems that these entrepreneurs recognized that a lot of people had. And for the first time, it was possible to introduce a product very quickly and easily. The barriers to entry fell. You know, if you think about what it takes now to introduce a new brand versus what it used to take, I mean, it's a huge difference. I mean, you know, kind of 10 or 15 years ago, you wanted to introduce a new brand. First of all, you had to get shelf space on, you know, kind of a store. Well, good luck with that. You know, you're going to go to Walmart or, you know, a drugstore to try to get them to carry your razors. It's like, well, who are you? Why should I carry you? I got Gillette, you know, kind of in chic, you know, kind of you're, you know, superfluous. You're just an extra SKU for me on my shelf. So, and the other thing is that if you wanted to market the product, it's going to cost you a huge amount of money too. You know, you're going to need tens of millions of dollars to advertise on TV. So a couple things happened. Online commerce meant that you didn't have to go to a store, a retail store. You could sell directly to consumers. And the rise of the internet meant that you could advertise for much cheaper online using Google or Facebook and actually target your customers rather than spending millions of dollars. You could spend tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes even thousands of dollars to test it out and to get traction. And oh, by the way, Michael Dubin, the founder of Dollar Shave Club, started his company basically by launching a video that went viral. It was hilarious. It was 1 minute and 30 seconds, and it told everything about his company, and it cost him a few $1,000s to shoot. And you know how many views that has had to date?
Not to date. Go ahead.
26.6 million.
How many?
26.6 million views. In the first, kind of few weeks, it had several million views.
Right.
So all these things came together at once to lower the barrier of entry. And
what's interesting to me is first of all, when I heard of Dollar Shave Club, and by the way, the way we heard about Dollar Shave Club is somebody sent the video to us and says, you got to get this guy on the show. So we ended up watching Michael on the show. And he talked about that. And he talked about, it's him and a couple of people that work for him. And that was probably one of the best videos for introducing a product. It was engaging. It's funny. This is the model. And
I've had marketing people tell me they've watched it dozens of times and can practically recite it.
Right.
It's so good.
Yeah. And it's just one of those things that, because of, as you mentioned, all the things that are available today where we could share that video and all this other stuff. And that's what happened. It was just crazy. And so, again, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to use the word luck because he put all this stuff together, but everything lined up, and that video went viral, and all the website traffic. It was a dream come true. It's one of those 1 in a million kind of a thing. But back to what you were saying, razors is one of those things that are, as you said, are super expensive. At least the quality ones are super expensive. They're, behind the glass, and you have to get a special person to open it and all that other stuff. And it's just crazy. Not only are they super expensive, but, we're always running out, and we don't know when that's going to happen, because we don't plan that far ahead as humans go.
And then you use them till they're dull. And, you don't get rid of them until you get your first nick. Please.
That's it. And so here's this concept where we're just going to send you a razor every month for a fairly ridiculous low price.
The price that Gillette charges. And, Gillette makes an awfully good product.
Yes.
But is it twice as good? No. Is it maybe 10% better? Okay, 10% better at double the price is not a good value proposition for customers.
Right.
One of the things that these companies, in addition to spotting opportunities in the marketplace and filling needs and knowing that, hey, there are a lot of people out there like me, they benefited early on, especially from the fact that a lot of the companies, big companies, were complacent, even arrogant. And why not? Gillette had 70% of the U.S. market for decades. Somebody comes along and says, hey, I've got this new idea. One little tidbit that I found during my reporting is that Gillette actually had an opportunity to invest in Dollar Shave Club early on. Dismissed it out of hand. Said, why should we invest in you?
Right.
We're the king of the hill, and we don't need you. Well, that was a big mistake because it gave Dollar Shave Club more running room. It ends up costing Gillette market share. Gillette today, thanks to both the success of Dollar Shave Club and Harry's, another rival,
right,
that was started online, has market share in the low 50%. It has since lowered its prices for the first time in memory. Gillette a couple of years ago lowered its prices about 10 to 15%. And it also started its own subscription company. So one of the advantages of these companies, they took them by surprise. A lot of the big companies just took too long to respond. Same thing in the mattress business.
Yes.
Mattresses, if you go back 3 or 4 years, these startup mattress companies had a minuscule, total collectively, and there were a bunch of them, less than $50 million annual in sales out of a market of $16 billion. Last year, people in the industry tell me that online mattresses, $2 billion.
Sure. And what I love about specifically about the mattress, they have these online mattresses specifically. they have a ridiculous, no risk proposition for us, the consumer. Try it. If you don't like it, send it back. Purple. I've had a couple of people who I've talked to who bought Purple.
Another successful company in that category.
And so when they called the mattress store saying, hey, we're not really happy with it, we'd like to return it, they said, no problem. But instead of returning it to us, if you will donate it to a local charity, get the receipt, and we'll call it even.
Yep, right.
Well,
they knew that. They're thinking outside the box. The advantage of these startups, where they have people who weren't in the industry, they weren't constrained by, oh, we've never done it this way. This is the way it's always been done. For the first time, you had people saying, hey, why should I worry about the way it's been done? Let me do it the way that I would like it to be done if I'm the customer. And one of those things is on a mattress, you'd like to be able to return it if you sleep on it a couple nights and it doesn't feel comfortable, it's not working for you. Well, with the traditional way, with the mattress you bought in a store, you could return it. You'd have to pay a restocking fee, often, kind of 10% of the price. So that's $200 or $300. And you'd have to pay return shipping fee. That's another $50 or $100. Well, together, that's a real disincentive. And these guys realize it. I mean, they had to come up with something that differentiated them, that gave people a reason to buy from them. And that's where innovation in either pricing or innovation in customer experience came in. And that's what distinguishes these companies and why they've been so successful. And not just that, in some cases, we talk about better value. So the founder of Third Love Bra Company, a woman, now she had been in retailing. She wanted to get into e-commerce because she figured that was going to be big, but she wasn't exactly sure. Then one evening she was rummaging through her bra door, getting ready to go out in the evening, and realized that there wasn't one that she really felt was comfortable and fit. And so she said, hey, there's got to be a better way. And with her husband started a company called Third Love. And their key is it's a better fitting, more comfortable bra. It actually costs more. In many of the cases, the newcomers charge less. They charge about $60 to $70 for a bra, which is more than Victoria's Secret, usually around in the 30 to 40 range. But it was they kind of said, hey, how can we make this better fitting? They designed it for half sizes. It's like half size shoes, but there weren't half size bras. Wow. And you had this very loyal following. Victoria's Secret is still the market leader, but they've lost share. And Third Love is growing rapidly.
One of the things that's interesting when you were talking about Gillette versus the Dollar Shave Club, and it reminded me of Netflix, because at one point Netflix had come to Blockbuster and said, hey, let us be your online arm or whatever. And they laughed at Netflix saying, we're Blockbuster.
We're big. Why do we need you?
You guys are nobody and your concept is foolish. I mean, we're going to mail DVDs. We're going to have all sorts of, inventory shrinkage and craziness and all this other stuff, blah, blah, blah. From the first meeting until the time that Blockbuster went off the market was 10 years. That was pretty quick.
It's amazing. Amazing.
And so I think that everybody in business today needs to remember Blockbuster for that reason, that their arrogance.
Excellent point.
Their arrogance cost them to disappear. Because if they would have, and what's interesting is, I think it was 5 or 6 years after that first meeting, they're coming out with Blockbuster Home, which had, in my opinion, had a pretty good advantage, because you could order it online, and if you wanted to, you could then take it to the store.
Right.
So that was kind of nice. So they launched Blue Box to compete with the Red Box thing that was hurting them. Right. And unfortunately, they had some internal struggles with Carl Icahn, who's one of the major holders, and somebody else. So that CEO got booted out. And anyway, bottom line is, if you think you cannot fail, then you are thinking the wrong way, and you will fail. I mean,
it's really important now. I mean, technology and how it affects things is changing so rapidly that you have to be constantly looking for how it might change your business, how it might change the business model. And the best companies are constantly evolving and looking for that. I mean, this is not so much in consumer products, but the success of Amazon is that it's always looking around the corner. It's not complacent, and that's not always been true actually of tech companies. It's reinventing itself constantly. And these billion-dollar brand startups thought outside the box. They figured a way to do things differently. And you know what? They're also
looking like we're having a little bit of a technical glitch there. Larry is communicating or connecting with us from a hotel room. Excuse me. And so we'll give him a couple of minutes here, see if we can re-engage that signal. But I do want to mention the book again while we're waiting for Larry to come back. So the book is $Billion Brand Club: How Dollar Shave Club, Warby Parker, and other disruptors are remaking what we buy. And what I love about Larry's book is that he points out the obvious, that sometimes it wasn't that they created something from scratch. It's that they packaged it differently. Dollar Shave Club is a good example. And so we've seen the same thing now in fashion, in retail fashion. We have a couple of places now that you can sign up for that subscription. And yeah, no problem. So Larry's back. Let's bring Larry back here. And so I was talking about, the fact that that some of these brands did not reinvent anything. They just repackaged it. Again, Dollar Shave Club, and now we have fashion subscriptions where they'll send you a box every month with a bunch of new clothes. And for us guys, that's like a dream come true, because we don't like shopping the way our females like to shop, and we're kind of dumb when it comes to fashion. So you can sign up for this subscription and they take all the pressure off. So that to me, another brilliant
innovation comes in a lot of flavors. There's product innovation, but also there's innovation in experience. And that's really a huge, important thing that a lot of these companies have done. They've made it a better experience. And we talked about mattresses already. Just the subscription service is actually a better experience. You're not going to, kind of run out of blades because we're going to send them to you every month. And oh, by the way, even before I get my monthly supply of Dollar Shave Club razors, they send me an email and say, do you want it? We're getting ready to send it. So let's say you've been on vacation for a couple of weeks and not been shaving very much. You can say, no, let's delay that one. Or they'll say, do you want us to throw in anything extra? Some shave cream, cologne, whatever. And so that again is improving the customer experience. So, it's really critical to understand that, it's not just the product. And in fact, the quality of most products across the board have increased, especially a lot of stuff is outsourced from Asia, and those manufacturers have become much more sophisticated in making good products. I like to say that the worst golf clubs you can buy today are probably better than the best golf clubs you could buy 10 or 15 years ago. That's how much technology improves. So when technology has narrowed, and the founder of Warby Parker, Neil Blumenthal, talked a lot about that. He said, we want to make it as seamless and easy to buy eyeglasses online, to return them, to do whatever. Because you know what? The reality is, a pair of eyeglasses that you can get from, XYZ store versus us is, kind of not, a big difference. It's the experience that matters. And getting to that, we were talking, before I got cut off, about retail. So, and companies being nimble. I mean, Warby Parker recognized, hey, a lot of people still like to go into stores and buy their glasses retail. So we'll open stores too. Same thing, Quip is available at Target.
Right.
The idea is we want to be where the customer is. Now, the reality is these companies could never have started if they tried to do that. As we talked, at the beginning of our conversation, they couldn't have gotten shelf space at retailers. But they realize, hey, for us to keep growing and for us to reach some customers where they want to be and where they want to buy, well, sure, okay, we'll do that. So the smartest companies, unlike sometimes some of the big companies, they say, we've got to be nimble. We can't be stuck where we are now. Technology is going to be constantly changing, and we're going to constantly look for those changes in technology so that we can be there for the customer, and the customer will be happy with what we're doing.
I want to mention something because I think it's worth mentioning or re-mentioning or emphasizing is the fact that you said not all of these startups or all these big all of these brands that we're talking about focused on price.
Right.
Zappos to me is one of those people that was kind of the first to prove that direct to consumer experience. And Zappos does not sell discount or cheap shoes. They sell high quality, high retail price shoes, but the experience is so much better.
Yeah.
And so if you are a regular Zappos customer, they will surprise you. And so if you order, let's say, I don't know, a pair of I'm trying to remember a pair of shoes that I got from them. Dress, what do you call it? You order some black dress shoes. They will send you that dress shoe in maybe a secondary color saying, hey, if you like this other color, keep it. We'll charge you. If you don't, send it back. There's no cost to you. It's a great way of helping the customer out, getting that extra sale.
Surprising you in a pleasant way.
Yes, absolutely.
In a pleasant way.
Because
another thing, kind of when you talk about the differentiation, and that's an excellent point about different companies have different strategies. Yeah. So there's a company called eSalon that makes customized hair color, and they do this because they have a questionnaire where they ask you everything about your hair color, and what brands you've used, and since they've kind of gathered so many of these things, they'll know what color and how to mix a color very precisely for you. And they'll deliver that to you at home. Now, the price that they charge is $25. If you buy an off-the-shelf product, that's more expensive than an off-the-shelf product that will cost $10 in a drugstore or a supermarket. But those products, of course, have limited numbers of hair colors. It's like, maybe it isn't exactly what I want. What they figured out was this is actually cheaper than, of course, going to a salon. So let's customize. Personalization is our differentiator. And that's what the important thing is. What is your differentiator? What are you, sometimes it might be price. Sometimes it might be value. Sometimes it might be customization. Sometimes it might be customer experience, customer service. But there needs to be a purpose. Just a me too is not the best thing. And the good fortune of these companies that there was a lot of space left for them by big companies to look for a differentiating factor.
That's right. And you know what? I want to bring this up, even though it's not necessarily under the same topic. The Uber and Lyft, who've kind of taken a huge segment of the taxi industry away. The taxi industry thinks they lost ground share because of an app, and they constantly fight this. And it's the experience.
It's the experience.
And so, interestingly enough, a year or so ago, I think it's been about a year now. I was in Vegas, and I wanted to see if the taxi cabs had changed their customer experience.
Right.
And they had not. It had gotten worse. And the example being is we finally got to the destination. I go to pay with my plastic, and right there it says there's a $3 surcharge to use your debit or credit card. It's like, I'm not paying that.
And also,
$3.
If you pay it once,
what?
If you pay it once, that's the last time you're going to pay it.
Yeah, well, I just refuse to pay it. I'm saying, we can call the police, we can call your supervisor, but I'm not paying you $3 to take my money. And so, they got the supervisor on the phone, and the lady has the gall to say, well, we don't get that money. That goes directly to, that just covers our credit card charge. I said, ma'am, there's not a merchant out there that charges you $3 per transaction, especially when you're doing the kind of volume you're probably doing. I'm not paying it. And so I ended up not paying it.
Well, good for you.
But right there is a great example of here's the taxi cab industry who refuses to give the customers a better experience. And that's why they constantly are losing. And no matter what they do, if they don't change, they'll eventually go out of business. And I just wanted to drive that point home back to what you were talking about. You can compete on quality, you can compete on being different, you can compete on a customer experience, you can compete on, there's so many different variations that you can compete on, and your audience will resonate with that, and that will take up space in their mind.
Neil Blumenthal of Warby Parker said, one of their principles early on is we want to treat our customers the way that we want to be treated as customers. And that's actually a pretty good golden rule. If you do that, then you create a DNA inside your company that is meant to please your customers, that is meant to keep them happy. And, all of us know we go back to companies and we go back and do business with people who, make that a good experience, who we feel, hey, I got value for my money. I got you. And that, again, as we've talked about, doesn't necessarily mean, I got the lowest price. Sometimes it might be the lowest price, but I had the best experience, or I paid a higher price and I got, kind of something that fit better, that worked better for me. And I'm going to come back, and it pays off. A lot of these companies have found, especially in the new world of social media, that, it's self-reinforcing. People have a good experience. They say it's a good experience. They post it, and, it pays dividends. It's like free, marketing for them. And it's, kind of earned media. It means that, kind of, it's not something they pay for, and that is believable to a lot of people. It's like, it's word of mouth, but word of mouth is, kind of today, I was talking to a marketing professor who is one of the, what I call the Pied Pipers behind the direct-to-consumer movement. And he said that he, kind of discovered early on, in the old world, word of mouth was good, but word of mouth was basically your friend and, kind of maybe 5 friends or 10 friends. And they might, kind of tell 5 or 10 friends, and over time you might, kind of get 50 or 100 people, kind of. Today, word of mouth, digital word of mouth can spread to hundreds or thousands of people, like that.
Yes.
Positively and negatively.
Yes.
But that positively can really, kind of help you ratchet up and grow faster, and without spending nearly as much money initially on marketing. And that's part of, kind of one of the things that, kind of have forever changed. And I think that will be, kind of true going forward. And some people ask me, kind of, is there, kind of a bubble? Are there too many companies getting in this? And I think that's a legitimate question.
Sure.
Right now, there are at least 6 new electric toothbrush companies that sell subscriptions. Quip is the leader. It was the first one. It's a very elegantly designed product, and it has, kind of great customer service. And I'm not sure exactly how the others are doing. Probably not all of those will be big companies, but it does show, kind of the ease of entry, which is good because competition is good. Having more choices for us as consumers is good.
Yeah.
You're going to find, kind of, even after Warby Parker's had great success, you're actually having startups, and they tend to be specialized startups in the eyeglass market. For example, there's a company called Lensable. I think it's like a brilliant concept. So you've got a pair of frames that you like a lot, and maybe you're like your Ray-Ban.
Right.
If you want to you get a new prescription a year or 2 later, and you say, oh, can you, kind of take these frames and just put in new lenses? Well, most opticians, they don't want to do that.
No, they don't.
They want to sell you another pair of frames. So this company says, okay, you send us your prescription, you send us your frames, we'll send it back with the new prescription in it. Now, is this going to be a giant company? I don't know. But that is actually a very interesting, kind of niche play. They might have a nice, sizable company at some point. And they can do this because it's so much easier to start a company like that online and to get the word out. And so I think there's going to be a lot of innovation. There's going to be so much innovation going on. It's possible now.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this is one of those things that if you are an individual who wears glasses and you come across those perfect frames, or maybe they're what we call nowadays a retro frame. Maybe it's a pair of glasses that you got from one of your parents, and now it's going to be back in vogue. Or maybe you want to just use it because it's different and it reminds you of your parents. To be able to go to somebody like Linsable and put your prescription in there is a wonderful thing. And I don't know why stores make it so hard, because you bring your frame in. I want my new prescription in these frames, and it's like, well, we don't know how to do that. They just like, well, it's going to cost you the same amount of money, or it's going to even cost you more money.
It's like, why? You have to say kind of why should that be? Again, the simplicity of the ideas behind a lot of these companies, like, this is something that I as a consumer want. And in the end, I'm trying to fill a need of the consumer as opposed to filling just what my need is. I mean, obviously businesses have to make money, but at the same time, some of them at some point have become more focused on the way that they do things as the way that customers want to do things. And, kind of that's the way to build a big brand. In the case of some of these companies, name of my book, billion-dollar brands. And we can see this is going to continue for a lot of time. There's another lesson here, Bert, that I think people might, want to think about, is that, even if you are not an entrepreneur, this is not actually a bad way to consider what you do. If you're working for a company, helping your boss spot a problem, solve a problem, fix it, is going to make them kind of happy. This is what entrepreneurs do, right?
Yeah.
The most successful ones. They spot problems and they fix it. They spot needs and they fill it. If you're doing this I think there's a life lesson here. Even if you're not a risk taker, even if you're not going to become an entrepreneur, if you take this approach to your job, if you take this approach to your life, to your relationships with your friends, that's going to be good for you. It's going to be good. What's good for them is also good for you.
Yeah.
And I think people should keep that in mind and realize how important that is.
So let me ask you this. And again, I want to plug the book. It's called $1 Billion Brand Club.
Thank you. $1 Billion Brand Club.
Yeah. And it has just a lot of value in it. My question to you is, if, let's say somebody is listening to us and they're going, hey, this sounds great. Where should somebody start? What would you tell a brick and mortar company to do to catch up?
Well, some of them are trying to adopt some of the ideas of these companies. Okay. And I think, the first thing is to say, okay, you've been successful doing something the way that you've done it for a long time. You need to be constantly asking yourself, is this the best way to do it? Are there different ways to do it? Are there ways that customers would like you to be doing it? Listen to your customers. Find out what they want and try to deliver to them. Because if you don't, a startup might do that. So I think that is critical. Go where your customers are. In the case of companies like Gillette, their customer traditionally was Walmart. There was the retailer. Yes, it was you and me, but kind of the people that they had to please most. In fact, when Gillette, it's interesting. I kind of write about this in the book, in the chapter on how Dollar Shave Club grew so fast. So Gillette, kind of first of all dismissed Dollar Shave Club.
Right.
And the second is, okay, let's maybe we'll copy a little bit about kind of how they do. We'll start a subscription. You can buy online. But you know what they did? If you want to buy online, you come to our site and then you go to Walmart's site. And it's like, why would I want to do that? And the reason was they didn't want to piss off Walmart.
Yeah.
Somebody at Walmart would say, well, why are you selling online? And instead of saying, guys, this is the future. We don't have any choice. We don't want to piss you off. But, people want to buy online. We have to enable them to do that. So it took them a while before, realizing that nobody wanted to do that. Right. And then Gillette offered, its own subscription. And then they cut their prices. So there were a whole series of things that Gillette finally did, where it should have at the very first said, by the way, okay, the guy's got a funny video. We think our product is better, but maybe he is onto something. Maybe there's something that we can learn as opposed to wait 3 years. And I'm not sure if I mentioned it already, but early on, Gillette, was so arrogant. It had an opportunity to invest in Dollar Shave.
Yes.
And it said, no, we don't need you guys. So it was a huge mistake. And they have since bought some of the other smaller companies. And there's a lot to learn.
Yeah.
And again, kind of as we've talked, one of the things, if you're a big company, think about the customer experience in the end.
And so I want to bring this up.
They can fight you, but you have to put that in mind. It's hard for big companies to do that.
It is. And the reason that it's hard for these big companies to do that is because of the arrogance. It isn't because they can't do it. I mean, think about it. Gillette has tons more money than any startup's going to have. They have this massive brand, and not only do they have a brand that's recognizable, but it's also loved. I mean, it's a great product.
It is a perfect one.
Yeah, and it's got a great tagline, Gillette, the best a man can be. I mean, there's so much that you could do off that tagline alone. Right. And so, so to me, the reason they don't is simply because they have that arrogance. Hey, we're too big. You're too small. We're better than you. And all of a sudden, they're gone. But what I was going to say is one of the biggest mistakes over and over and over again that I see a lot of people do, and this is to your point, is that they've lost touch who their customer really is. Right. And they don't do things like a customer survey or those, those group, kind of like those info groups where you bring a bunch of people in and
focus group.
That's what it is. This is something that is vitally important, especially if you've been in business for a while and maybe you see your business is getting stagnant or slow or even dipping. Maybe you've lost touch who your customer really is, or maybe they've lost, the message that you're putting out doesn't resonate with them anymore. And it's time to survey or do a focus group or something because.
So that's a really great point. And one advantage I think that some of these startups do, because again, they're not dealing with retailers initially. They're dealing with customers online. They're hearing from their customers online. They're seeing how long their customers are checking out this product or that product. They're kind of figuring out what the return rates are. Their focus group is instantaneous. It is online. They're gathering data. They're measuring everything that's going on with these customers. And as a result, they don't need to have focus groups.
Right.
And their focus groups are massive, right? The data is really helping them anticipate, spot what their customers want and need. And they ask their customers. And that's another thing that big companies need to learn to do better, is to try to, and I think they are, mining the data to find out, what is the best way to serve our customers. You were mentioning the clothing subscription services. They're constantly trying to figure out, okay, what is the return rate? So, if you're a 55-year-old guy and, your medium height and build, and you generally like this kind of fashion, we'll send you these things to see if you like these 5 pieces of clothing. Well, they then measure how everybody in that category responds. What do you keep? What do you send back? And the next time they use that data to improve the mix of stuff. So, and that's good for them, good for you. So if you keep, 2 things out of 5 instead of 1 thing out of 5, you're happy with that. And also that's good for their business. But they do it because they're gathering this data. They don't necessarily need focus groups. They have, kind of internet focus groups, as it were. And I have a whole chapter in the book about how online startups have, made data central to their business strategy, central to improving the product, central to improving the service, central to just about everything that they do, improving their website to make it easier for you to navigate.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up because, again, that's one of the great benefits about doing business today is that not only do you have just layers of data, but it doesn't take you weeks or months to get that data. You can get it on a daily basis if you wanted to. It's fresh every day.
Hourly basis.
Yeah. Back in the day, when you and I were, young men, that customer data would literally take months, depending on what you're looking for, could even take a year because they would have to go the old slow process and they deliver this data to you in this massive, binder or binders. And by the time you got the data and started going through it, it's, maybe all of it's outdated or 20% of it is outdated.
And it wouldn't be as granular. There's no way it could be as granular.
Right? It's amazing. Amazing. All right. So listen, we're out of time. The book, $1 Billion Brand Club by Lawrence Ingrassia.
Larry behind it, it's fascinating. The people behind it, the faces behind it, that's what makes the book fun and different.
Absolutely. No, it's awesome because if you're an entrepreneur, you want to know how, Shave Club or some of these other brands did what they did and all that other stuff. So it's inspirational. It's got a lot of, I think, great strategies and how-tos. The book's available on Amazon or wherever you like to buy it. I'm going to put a link in the show notes as well. Larry, it's been a pleasure. Looking forward to catching up with you soon.
Bert, thank you again. I really appreciate it.
You bet.